I'm really enjoying these shooters coffee chat videos that folks are putting out. Kind of feel like I'm sitting in the back of the table in the local gun store where we hang out. I've got some local gun stores. They don't have a table where you hang out. But I kind of feel like we're doing that virtually, if you will, and I'm really enjoying it. It's been a great opportunity so far to glean some knowledge from some of the graybeards, if you will, as well as just get to know folks that you've been hanging out with and talking to. Now, there is a topic that I've been considering throwing out there, but first I want to mention this is a Starbucks cup, but this is Folgers coffee inside. Now, Elvis, that's not a vote. If you put Maxwell in front of me, I'll drink it. You put Starbucks in front of me, I'll drink it. There's good coffee and there's bad coffee, and there's in between coffee, but if it's coffee, I'll drink it. So if you're still tallying votes for coffee preference, you can put me down as a vote for every type of coffee, except for decaf. Decaf just doesn't make any sense to me. Decaf coffee to me is kind of like buying a car without an engine. It kind of looks like it, but it just doesn't make sense. Today, though, I wanted to talk real quick about bullets. Why this fascination with bullets? You know, there's numerous YouTube channels out there. There's internet forums. There's internet forums about cast bullets. There's internet forums about certain types of firearms. There's internet forums about all sorts of things, and there's people contributing to this. So there's an entire group of people around the world that gather together to debate the pros and cons and the pluses and minuses of various types of bullets and their performance and their intended purpose. And there's probably a few of us out there that we have a spouse that scratches their head going, what in the world are you doing watching another YouTube video about bullets? Haven't you seen it all? You know, really, we're just talking about launching little chunks of metal towards a target. How many times can we talk about that? Basically, a hammer strikes a primer, the primer ignites the powder, and the pressure builds, pushes little pieces of metal down a tube towards a target, and then the target has a hole in it, hopefully. Is it really worth discussing over and over and over again? I would contend yes, but well, for the sake of this discussion, I realize it's not a bullet, but I'm going to go ahead and throw that guy out there as well. But as I think about bullets, I start to think about the purpose. Why in the world are we talking about these things? It's not just because, oh, look, they're nice little trinkets that we could play chess with. And if that was the case, you'd look at some guy playing with 45s and some guy playing with 9mm, and nobody'd ever have checkmate. They'd just have a stalemate, back and forth and back and forth. So as I considered bullets and why are we interested in these things? For me, it broke down into three categories. And just for the sake of alliteration, I've labeled those as fun, food, and force. If you want, you could also call it sport, sustenance, and security. The first of those, fun or sport, is really what I think most of the time and attention and use gets put towards. And when I say fun or sport, I'm talking about shooting sports, which really, it's a test of proficiency, whether that's accuracy or speed or both. You've got shooting sports in the Olympics. Take a look at all the activities that happen out at Camp Perry. I couldn't come up with a laundry list of all the different types of shooting sports that are even officially recognized. A small subset of that would be, let's see, cowboy action shooting, steel challenge. You've got bench rest shooters. You've got the silhouette guys that are knocking down animals made out of steel. Think of Thor's axe up there. You got your bullseye shooters. You guys got guys shooting sporting clays. You've got your, IPSC, your IDPA, your 3-gun, your PPC, your Bianchi Cup. You got your fast draw guys. You got the guys shooting at bowling pins. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. The different types of sport and fun and competition that are engaged in the world of bullets. And when we talk competition, that can be fun as well. It can be serious and also fun. And that competition may be with others, it may be with established records, it may be with yourself, and it may be with all of those things. Heading out to the range and grabbing an AR and doing a mag dump, that's fun. But you take a look at somebody like West Desert Shooter out there who'll take 10 rounds and quite a bit of time and put precision holes into a target 1,000 yards away. That's fun as well. And so that fun and sport, I think, is where most of the bullets that get fired, I would put them into that category. And with that as well, you go out shooting with others. It builds camaraderie and community. It's a shared activity, just like coffee can be a shared activity. Sorry, I got a cup of coffee in front of me. I can't just talk and stare at it. I've got to drink it. Beyond fun and sport is the food and sustenance. First thing that comes to mind for me is hunting. Now, hunting can be sport and it can be fun, but it doesn't have to be. So some of these things are intermingled. But when it comes to hunting, we can talk about large game, we can talk about small game, we can talk about upland game, we can talk about waterfowl. There's a lot of different types of hunting as well. And that food or sustenance, that could also, I guess, be predator hunting, whether it's coyotes or bobcats, or you got birds coming in and eating your crops. So that hunting may be preserving other food sources, not necessarily just shooting the game animal that you're actually going to eat. And speaking of predators, that gets into that third category, that force or security. Again, predators, whether it's they got wings, 4 legs, or 2 legs. In this force and security, I would put in, military or police, national defense, or self-defense. Certainly bullets are used for these things. This is the one category that the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution actually addresses. The Second Amendment doesn't guarantee anything related to sport, fun, hunting, sustenance, but it does guarantee force and security. I wrote down a couple words from the U.S. Constitution. In the very beginning of the Constitution, it says, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense if you prefer, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America." That was the stated intended purpose of the U.S. Constitution. In the Constitution, you have the Bill of Rights, which is the first 10 amendments to that Constitution, and those 10 amendments are really there to spell out Americans' rights in relation to their government. They're there to guarantee civil rights and liberties to the individual, like freedom of speech, press, religion. Oh, that's good coffee. If you take a look at the Bill of Rights, it starts out before the First Amendment saying, "Having at the time of their adopting the Constitution expressed a desire in order to prevent misconstruction or abuse of its powers, that further declaratory and restrictive clauses should be added." So they stated the intent of the Bill of Rights was basically to keep the government from misconstruing or abusing its powers. And the reason I mention that is the Second Amendment does not give us the right to keep and to bear arms. The words in the Second Amendment say, "The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." So what it's implying is, or it's acknowledging that the right already exists. The right to defend ourselves, just like the right to the freedom of speech and the freedom of religion, is not given to us by the government. The right to defend ourselves is a right that's given to us by our Creator. It's a basic human and civil liberty. So the framers of the Constitution put this in there as an acknowledgement that the right already exists, but it's intended to prevent the government from, in their own words at the time, misconstruction or abuse of its powers. The Second Amendment is there to define the relationship between the government and the people, and the government, when they stood up in this country, stated in the Second Amendment that the people have a right to defend themselves and that the government shall not infringe upon that right. That could be 30 or 40 or 500 more coffee chats. So we'll move beyond that. But I want to go back to this idea of defense. Again, remember, we're talking fun sport or food and sustenance. And then this third category was force or security. So as I think about defense, really it's a matter of eliminating the adversary's opportunity or their will or their capability. Let's start with opportunity. The way you remove opportunity from somebody that intends to do you harm is to one, avoid the areas that they may be. That may be locking your doors. That may be situational awareness. That may be you need to be a gentleman when you interact with other people, so that it does not give them opportunity to respond to your bad behavior. It could be deterrence. That will. So deterrence is changing the other person's will. It may be through a show of force. It may be that somebody intends to do you harm, and at the moment they notice that you are armed, their will has changed. And if you can't limit the opportunity and you can't change their will, then you need to affect their capability. You need to remove their capability to cause you harm, immobilize them, if you will. And getting back to the bullets, that's where this comes in. If they see the bullet, their will may change. If it doesn't change, then that bullet can affect their capability. If that's something that interests you, I suggest there's a YouTube channel I want to suggest called ASP, A-S-P. It stands for a couple things. Really, it stands for Attitude, Skills, and Plan. That they also call their channel Active Self-Protection. Every day they post videos, every single day, where they'll show security camera footage of some sort of incident where a self-defender had to take action against some sort of bad guy, whether it was a knife-wielding attacker or somebody with a gun or somebody trying to carjack him, whatever the case was. A great channel to remind ourselves that we do not live in a secure and safe world, as well as to think through how do I intend to respond to a situation like that if I ever find myself in it. Great channel, and I'll put a link in the description, but I will give you a fair warning. There are a bunch of idiots in the comments section in those videos, so the videos are great. I would suggest staying out of the comments section. So, bullets. Why in the world are we obsessed with bullets? Well, again, fun, food, and force, or sport, sustenance, and security. And I think I put them in order of most used to least used, and least important to most important. And I will throw training out there. Training is something that can be involved with all three of those categories. Usually part of fun. I'm training for defense, training to hunt. Those things can be fun. So what do you think? Is there anything I missed? Is there any purpose or use for bullets that doesn't fall into these three categories? I probably did miss something. In fact, this is probably just a bunch of rambling and me drinking coffee. But hey, I got a good cup of coffee out of it, so it's not a waste of time. Now there's been a dozen or so Shooters Coffee chats that I've seen, and I've thrown all of those from the various posters into a playlist on my channel. I think a couple others have created a playlist as well. But I'm not subscribed to everybody. I may have missed some. If I miss somebody's Shooters Coffee chat that should be in that playlist, I'd appreciate you let me know. Well, the coffee's done, and I guess this discussion as well, unless you want to continue it into the comment section. Speaking of comment section, I really appreciate you guys that are contributing there. I know there's a lot of folks out there that watch the videos that don't comment, that may not even subscribe, and that's fine as well. But these coffee chats really should hopefully generate discussion, not be the end of discussion. And most of that discussion is going to happen in the comment section of all these videos. So grab your cup of coffee or your can of Pepsi, West Desert Shooter, and jump in the comments section. Let's keep these various discussions going. I appreciate you all. I appreciate the comments, the discussion. I appreciate you watching, and God bless.